Hello and welcome to Fit With Us episode 36. Wait, I'm not even going to ask Gary how you are because you literally just missed him saying that this could be a fucking disaster. So speak to us, Gary. How could this be a disaster?
Oh, it could be a disaster because it's all fucking happening this week for me. The big move is happening this weekend, so it's all hands on deck. We just had the launch of our new app Inside 12X, and my tight ass friend had a wedding on Wednesday, so that kind of threw a spanner in the works, and yeah, it's been a bit hectic.
After those comments, it's going to be an ex-friend if they listen to the podcast.
It's fine. I told him it was a tight ass to his face.
Ah, fair enough.
Nah, I'm not joking. It was a cracking day though, to be fair. It was well worth the disruption in my schedule, shall we say. What's been happening with you? How's your wee fella?
I, the Rocky just heard refill and starts barking. No, all good. He's starting to sleep a bit more, but he's also a bit more active during the day. And it's not like you can entertain him because he's a baby and probably saying that has more intelligence than me right now. But yeah, no, all good. Good.
I can still hear you.
Oh, you can still hear us. That's good to hear.
I need to lean back and close the blinds because I feel like see the bit in Bruce Almighty when he sees God and everything's just pure white.
You sound like you're having a moment, mate. Um, But
Uh,
yeah, I was going to say it's a weird thing having a child. I was speaking to Jen about this last week. I've had periods in my life where I've gone through what you'd probably say like depression to a point, like not like long periods of time, but there's points where it's definitely being consolidated as a month or two of just not being myself and just not again being in a great place. But I've never had in my life, and I didn't know I had it until I've had it, anxiety. Like I've never had
yeah,
the feeling of worrying about things that don't exist or are irrational, and my heart rate at whatever period of time just racing. I had that last week for a good solid 4 days. I'll be honest, I've only kind of just came out the back end of it, and there's nothing on paper that makes any sense about it whatsoever. But like, well, in terms of my thoughts, the reason clearly is the fact having a child, trying to balance so many things at the one time
mm,
and not feeling in control is then making me feel not in control of my own thoughts, which is then causing me anxiety, which is then causing me to further go down that loop. And I'm like, that's a fucking stressful thing. That is anybody
aye.
who's with that in the long term, Jesus, not
I
ideal.
know, mate. Anxiety is a mad thing to deal with. Like Rachel gets it really bad. Her mum gets it insanely bad, and um, I'm no ignorant to what's going on, but sometimes I say to them like, why are you worrying about something that hasn't even happened? Like, no wonder you're depressed as fuck. Like worrying about what could and what ifs. Like, just enjoy yourself, live in the moment, and then obviously spending so much time with Rachel, like in the van, and like it was basically freaking 3.5 years of living in each other's pockets. It made me kind of understand it a wee bit better, if that makes sense. But it's crazy how much it can derail you and like really fuck you up, eh?
Mate, I'll be honest. I feel like I've always been one of the most like outgoing, not worried about like see the things I was what I'll give you an example. On Sunday, it was a day off. I got to 3 o'clock in the day and I actually couldn't sit in the living room with Jen because I thought I was don't want to say in danger, but I just thought there was something going to happen. There was irrational thoughts. I literally had to go for like I didn't go for a nap, couldn't sleep, but I literally just went upstairs to my bed because I'm like, I need to sit in a dark room. And then the thoughts of even going for like a walk with Rocky, I'm like, this actually feels weird. I feel like something could happen. And the further I go away from home, I'm more panicking about if something happened. There's fucking nothing going to happen. And I'm like, it's only this period, like short period of time, because I'd be exactly the same where I'd be like, people talk to me about it. I'm like, well, sure, expose yourself to it a bit more. You'll be fine. Like locking yourself in the room's not going to help. And in my head, I'm going, I know that's true. But at the time, I'm like, I don't understand the feeling of just, I feel in danger about something
Yeah.
or I'm going to cause danger. There's just something going to, whatever, weird feeling.
Almost kind of frozen with fear as well, just kind of locking yourself in the room. But in a way, it could be a blessing in disguise that you have experienced that the last couple of days because Now, when clients come to you and explain their feelings of anxiety and stuff, you're going to be able to relate to them a wee bit more than you would previously have because you've experienced it yourself. Do you know what I mean?
100%, mate. Actually, when I was looking at our, like, when I was feeling it at the time, I'm always trying to go like, what's the lesson here? Why is this happening? There needs to be something that's a takeaway from it. That's just the way my brain works. But at the time, even I was like, this is because I need to know what this feels like. Because I mean, it was like you think you know what something feels like, but you don't actually know what it feels like until
Oh,
you get it. And I was like, oh, I now feel what that feeling is. And I now need to come up with my own coping mechanisms because it's not something that I just click to my fingers and goes away. There's still a few, like, as much as I'm out the end of not feeling it every day, there's still even like last night I was lying in bed and I was like, oh, I feel a wee bit, I don't know the feeling right now, but it's here again. And I'm like, I'm
mhm.
not entirely sure. Everything feels a wee bit heavy at the moment and everything's feeling a wee bit strenuous. And like it's past, but I'm like, I'm just aware that it's there at the moment. I just need to get more down to how do I cope with why it's happening and what I do and what's my things around it. But it is a weird feeling, man.
Aye. And obviously, if it keeps up and it keeps happening, then you need to get help. Essentially, you need to don't try and be Billy Big Boys and do it all yourself.
Well, that's it. That's the thing. It's a weird thing because it's one of those ones I've saying this to Jen. I'm like, the more like I think for me, it's like you can ignore it 100%, but then the more I think about it, the more it's making me anxious. And I'm like, but then that feeling's continuing. And I'm like, if it continues, what does that mean? I like at one point I was thinking, am I going insane? Am I actually having a psychotic break? Because my thoughts are literally irrational. But you're right on that sense. Like it does get to the point where like there's sort of, like I'd be absolutely slating somebody who's not in a great place for health and fitness for not asking for help if they're trying to do it themselves.
Exactly.
I can't be any different to that myself.
Aye.
Though I'll take my top off. It's just very warm with a jumper on.
See, what?
I'm taking my jumper off.
All right. I was like, why are you telling me that? Just fucking do it. But no, mate, it's a mad one to talk about as well because obviously like mental health and anxiety is so rife, would you say rife in everyday life now? But I think back in the day, like people were just so ignorant to it, they just didn't want to accept it. They didn't know what it was. When I'll use Rachel as an example as again. Even my mum and Jenna, like they're all. I hope they don't mind me sharing this, but I'm going to do it anyway. I know Rachel won't, but they all suffer with depression, right? They're all on medication for depression, right? And I would always say, just be happy. Like, why are you sad? Like, I was that ignorant that I just thought being depressed was just being sad, was
Yeah,
just being unhappy, was just being miserable until, like you, until I started experiencing it for myself and I actually had to ask Rachel, like, is this what it feels like? Is this what happens? Like, why do I feel like this every day? Why can I not get out of my bed? Why do I just feel like I want to start crying every day? And it was all things that things were in my head, like, and I'm thinking to myself, why the fuck is this in my head? Why am I thinking this? And Rich was like, you don't really have any control over it. It just kind of comes. It's like, I mean, it doesn't kind of come. You've always got depression, but I felt like I was having like a depressive episode. Does that make sense?
yeah, 100%.
And I never ever went and got. I never went to speak to somebody about it, and I always said I was going to. I always said I was either going to go to my GP or going to go to a therapist. I never ever done it because I'm stubborn, and I always try to do things on my own, and that's just something that I've done my whole entire life. And it's not. I would say it's one of my toxic traits. I bottle it up.
Nice.
I I bottle it up and try and deal with it on my own. And if there's one thing that I could change about me, it would be that. It would be um to reach out and ask for help when I fucking need it. Like I did with you, like see when my weight was getting too much and um I was a fucking slob and I wasn't looking after my health. I reached out to you and asked for help. Why am I not doing the same thing? Why are you not doing the same thing? Why are we not doing the same thing? When it starts happening in our head, where mental health, where irrational thoughts, where shit's happening that we can't explain. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that, well, the one thing I would say about what I would do is like I'm always going to find a solution to it. Now, like anything, I am going to try and bring it down to its root cause, and I think I'm self-aware enough to think. For me, like, we've worked with a lot of people. Like, you get people who are very unself-aware or unable to actually like find fault in their own actions. I'd be open and honest enough to kind of go, right, well, I've maybe taken too much on, and I'm trying to do this. And
Yeah.
for me, I think the biggest, because I didn't understand it at first, I genuinely, like, Sunday started absolutely fine. And Jen and I were out for a coffee. It was absolutely fine. I'd probably say half an hour after I went for a coffee, I started making some food. As I'm making some food, I put a podcast on as I normally do. But it was Joe Rogan, and he started talking about being in a simulation. And just when he was saying all this stuff, type of stuff, I was starting to feel, I'm like, oh, I'm just not feeling too great. And I'm like, everything just started to feel like the weight of actually not being here. And I'm like, I don't feel like I'm like awake right now. I feel like I'm having a bit of an out of body experience. And then Joe Rogan's talking about being in a simulation, and like, I don't know if you've ever seen Total Recall or whatever it is, where they put memories in your head. And he's like, well, what's to say that you're waking up every day and you think you've lived the life that you have before? But he's like, but somebody's just implanted memories, and you think what your life is. You've woke up and you've had days before you and days after. But what happens if you are just waking up and you are just part of it, and you go to sleep and you're somebody else tomorrow, but you don't know because they've implanted memories? And my head at this point is just going, fuck, fuck. I don't even want my eggs and toast anymore. I'm like, I can't eat my eggs and toast. So it's that small thing that triggered us, but like literally all night, I was like, my heart is racing. It wasn't even that anymore. I was just going, well, what is the point in all this? What's happening? But I think if I boil it back down to it, like, and I'm speaking, and again, I'm just talking, I didn't expect to go this far down the rabbit hole, but like, when I'm thinking about it, I'm like, I feel obviously the pressure that Jen's not working, so I need to make sure that business is moving at a rate, which means I'm working probably more or more with more intent than I would before, and not just actually enjoying that. I'm finding there's pressure on the fact that, like, getting out the house, like, when I'm not in the house, I wouldn't normally think about what's happening back home, in the sense that, like, it's just Jen can watch a film or whatever. But now I'm thinking, well, Jen's taking the pressure of taking Finn when I'm out the house, which means that she's going to struggle. And it means I'm not taking the load, which means that when I'm back, I need to make sure that I take all the load. But then in all that, I'm like, I don't have any downtime myself, which is just making, and my brain's not getting any downtime, which is just meaning it's just constantly wired. And because I'm not feeling in control, my thought process isn't in control. And I'm just, that's where everything feels a bit of a struggle. Now, that's me talking myself through it. And that's me, that has helped a lot. But at the same time, these moving obstacles are all still happening, and I don't imagine they're going to get much better. So it's, if I can't cope with that long term, then yes, I do probably need to chat that out with somebody who's more capable to be able to give you solutions on that, you know?
Right, absolutely. And there's no shame in reaching out and asking for a wee bit of help, a wee bit of guidance. And I think, as coaches, as big masculine men, as problem solvers, we do try and take a lot of the weight on our own shoulders. But I think, in society nowadays and stuff like that, you see a lot more men reaching out, asking for help, and like I said, there's absolutely no fucking shame in it, and I'm all for it. Like 10, 20 years ago, it was definitely a completely different story, and that's probably why I am the way I am today. It could potentially be why you are the way you are today, and trying to deal with ourselves and taking on that responsibility and trying to figure everything out for ourselves, even though we're no fucking qualified to do so. We still try and give it a shot, shall we say? But yeah, like, absolutely no shame if you need to just ask for a wee bit of guidance, but give it a go first.
Yeah, I was going to say, but there's the thing. It's like, it's hard to know what it is, how to deal with it, or anything else. And I think it's a bit like, it's like modern day football, where like it's hard to know if you have something when everybody around the pitch is fucking diving and pretending to do. And if, like, it's a bit like depression and anxiety. Like, people have a depressive anxiety. I would never in my life say that I am depressed or have been. I've definitely had times where I have been depressed. There's no question on that. I've spoke to the right people and I've had conversations about that. To be fair, if you'd asked me before and talked about anxious, my version of anxious is probably having too much caffeine and just feeling like I can't fucking settle. But there was no intrusive thoughts or anything with that, like, or like knowing that, like, as soon as I gave it an hour, I'd be all right. But whereas now I'm like, oh, that is different. I don't have the I give this an hour and the effects of it will go. It's like this could still be here in a couple hours' time, and I'm not enjoying
Mhm.
this wee visitor that I've got right now. So it is very difficult, like even to say it out loud, because again, it is like everybody wants to be depression, anxiety, everybody. It's almost like it's easy and comfortable to label it. And I don't actually think, like again, right now I wouldn't say, and maybe this is a character fault, I wouldn't say that I have anxiety. I also feel when you label yourself with things, you then get stuck in that and it becomes that's my fear. I'm like, you say I've got anxiety, like as in, or I'm an anxious person, you start to label yourself like that. How do you then get rid of that title? It's like for me, yeah, I'm experiencing this right now. I'm going to do everything I can to get myself to the other side of it. But again, I've no issue with asking for help on that. Anyway,
Mhm.
like I've been a big advocate of talking to like people before problems become problems anyway. Like I think that there's a lot to be said in that. Sure, Tony Soprano was speaking to somebody, albeit he was shooting people and throwing them off boats. That's a stress. But I was like, I don't have any. Like I probably think it's probably one of the more beneficial things you can do is talking. I've never had an issue with talking, but making sure I'm on a podcast talking to you about it. Like it's you can
It
pretend
took,
it wouldn't happen, but it's there. Like
it took me a long time to get out of that, break that bad habit of bottling it all in because I just, I don't know. I don't know why I was like that. I don't know where it came from, but I would just bottle it all in and it's not good. Whereas now I don't really have a problem. Um, Reaching out, asking for help, talking to people. I'm the same as you. Love talking to people now on a podcast. Wouldn't it be here if I didn't enjoy talking? But there was something that you mentioned there about there's been fuck something I had it in my head there. Anyway, we'll move on. So what I was going to say to you, what I was going to ask you is, have you been training when you've been feeling and thinking these kind of intrusive thoughts, and how has that helped or has it helped?
yeah, mate, if anything, my training and nutrition for a large part has been the best it's been in weeks. Like, this is what for me, when it first happened, it's like, this doesn't make sense. I am in a position where things are pretty okay. And like, I actually had a conversation with one of my mates about this yesterday, and it's like, don't take us the wrong way. It's like, it's nice when you've said that because, like, from the outside looking in, it looks like you're winning. And it's like, I can't
Yeah.
believe that you're feeling the way you are. And I'm like, no, 100% I am. It's weird. But yeah, mate, I have been training. I certainly don't train the way that I trained like a couple of years ago, where I could
Mhm.
go to the gym 4 times a week and spend all evening there. It's like it's a case of there's 3 to 5 exercises that I'm trying to push a bit of strength with, and things are moving pretty well. Playing five-a-side once a week, it's good, mate. And I think a lot of the time when you switch your focus to something, in the sense that like for me, it's very difficult just to sit in a room watching the TV. That's actually, I think that's where most of it happens when I've not got anything.
Hmm.
It's a strange thing there. Whereas I switch my focus to something. So, for instance, if I need to lift a squat, I'm thinking about lifting a squat because
Hmm.
otherwise, I like to be fair. When I squat, I could probably think about my dinner, but realistically, I am going through the motions of moving, which means I have to concentrate on something else, which does help
Aye.
for a period of time. I certainly am not feeling as great as what I normally would when I come out of the gym at the moment, the last week or so. But I think like that's just again giving it time.
Aye, definitely. It sounds like when you don't have something to focus on, that's when your brain is looking for other ways to be stimulated, and intrusive thoughts might be that kind of stimulation that it's or giving it enough stimulation that it's fuck's sake, Gary. As you can see, my brain's not being stimulated this morning with the caffeine. Um, it looks like, or it sounds like, your brain is constantly looking to be stimulated, and when it's not getting stimulated, that's when these kind of intrusive thoughts are creeping in because it's just looking for something to fucking do. You're like, it's not allowing you to completely switch off. Again, I'm not qualified. It just kind of seems that way because uh I'm the same. Like I can't switch off. See if I'm trying to watch Netflix, I'm looking for the next dopamine hit. I am reaching for my phone. I put the PlayStation on, I turn it off because I want to play it, but I don't have the energy to play it. It's so fucking bizarre, but it's just me constantly looking for that next dopamine hit. It's me constantly looking to be um to be doing something, and it's fucking annoying. It's frustrating, but uh, it's kind of seems like you're just a wee bit similar. Like you can't just switch off. You can't just relax because our brain doesn't allow us to.
I think that's exactly it. My circumstances haven't changed any differently from what they were in the last couple of years, to be honest. Like if anything, the stress load's exactly the same. I'm trying to take more days off. I have like again, we're in a good position, but I think it's actually more so like just what's going on
Mhm.
becomes so like I'm now aware of the fact I can't switch off, which is then causing me anxiety. A year ago or
Yeah.
6 months ago, I'm like, well, that sound like just keep going. And now I'm like, why can't you switch off? What's your
Mhm.
issue? Why can't you just relax, Kyle? And then it's like when I'm not relaxing, I'm like, why is my heart rate starting to get a wee bit higher here? And I'm like, is there something wrong with me? Do I need to whatever? Do I need to? And then it's like, right, why don't I switch on to something else? And when you try to switch on to something else, sometimes you're like, is this the right thing I'm switching on to? Am I ignoring something else? And it's
Aye.
again, these are normal thought processes for me in the last year, but I just wouldn't have had any effect on me. I literally water off a duck's back. I'd be like, right, cool, this is my priorities, this is what I need to do. Jen said it to me last night. She was like, the thing about you is like you always have a very clear structure as to what you need to do and what actions you need to do it. And I think that's what keeps you grounded and what's whatever.
Hmm.
She's like, I think with Finn and with everything else at the moment, because there's not so much of a clear structure and there's so many variables and there's now pressure and guilt and having to understand that you're not superhuman, it's causing you all this. And I'm like, you're 100% right. I just
Oh, aye.
need to find ways of trying to deal with that. Like,
Aye. Well, this is now you in the kind of figuring out period of having a wee fella there and you try to figure out how to manage that as best as possible because, for as long as I've known you, you have been fucking on it with structure, especially since, you know, I noticed it massively when I started kind of coaching with you. You are fucking on it. You've got your structure down to a T. And then obviously with the wee man there, he's thrown that structure all out of whack because he's unpredictable, which means your day's going to be unpredictable. You like he's not get certain times that he gets up for a cry or he gets up for do you know what I mean though? Like so
I've
that
now got times I'm getting up for a cry.
exactly. So that's thrown your structure completely out of whack, and it seems like you just can't get on top of it just yet. But that doesn't mean to say that you never will. It's just right now there's just this wee grey period of figuring it out, and then once you figure it out, it'll be grand. You just need to get through it. Maybe ask for a wee bit of help, reach out and ask for a wee bit of guidance, and just kind of coach yourself through it. But yeah, I know you'll be absolutely fine, mate. I know it's just a wee bit of added anxiety, and it like understandably so with a wee fella.
Yeah, you are right. But what I would say for MD who, like, I suppose is listening, like, because I am currently, as I said, like, I have gone through it and I'm probably still, like, playing it down, probably still going through it to a large extent.
Hmm.
Um, as much as it's been better the last couple of days, but I think at the back of my mind, because it's something completely new, I'm like, am I going to feel like this forever now? Am I like, is there now some sort of like, is my brain now the way I'm thinking? I'm like, is that now going to be my thought process forever? Is this now going to be the I'm overthinking absolutely everything? Because I didn't do that before and now I'm doing it. And I'm like, I don't like it at the moment because for me, it's wasted energy. I'm ruminating on things that firstly haven't happened yet and are
Hmm.
very unlikely to happen. This is going off a wee bit of a sub thing, but my only experience of having this feeling, and it's a weird one, bear with me on it. I took some magic seeds once where, like, it was during lockdown. I had a relative, they gave me some magic seeds.
What is magic seeds?
So it's like hallucinogenics. It's like magic mushrooms, but just in a different form.
Right, okay.
They're called Hawaiian baby wood grows. Right now, the person that gave me them, they hadn't really used them themselves either, which probably wasn't the best thing to give me. And also were uncontactable. So once they gave me them and I went over to Ireland, I had no instructions, didn't know what they were or whatever. So I took probably too many of them. and got to the point where I'd taken them on the back of a hangover, which is never a good place to take them. But anyway, when it happens, it just unlocks like the things that normally protect your mind. It just lets thoughts go freely, which is why people microdose on these things, like on a microdose, because it lets thought processes come in. But I obviously just went fucking full whack and shotgunned it. So all of these thoughts when you're hungover come in, but I end up having outer body experiences, ended up like becoming somebody else, like was thought processes of like, you know when what's it called? The Marvel films, you get Doctor Strange and he sees 1,000 different like things and possibilities. I literally was on that 1,000 different pathways of whatever, but it was a really bad experience. I wouldn't work like I wouldn't literally put it in. I was stuck in it for about 10 hours. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. And I genuinely felt like I died 11 times during this many different possibilities thing. Came back to my own body. It was fine. Took me a day or two to recover from that. Never felt it like that again. The feelings I'm getting right now are very similar to that. But because my only experience of feeling like that was back then, I'm starting to get like PTSD almost of
Aye.
and I'm starting to go through the points where like in that trip that I died or I caused harm to somebody, and I'm like, oh fuck, is that what's going to happen? Is this where it does makes no
Jeez, so
logical sense at all. But at the same time, because my only experience of that is bringing it back those memories. No sense. You put me in a court of law, they'd be like, right, mate, you're talking absolute shite. But then I'm also, because I'm talking absolute shite, I'm going, am I going to end up in a straitjacket? Like
that's that is wild, man. That is absolutely crazy. Have you, I mean, there's a lot to be said for how exercise can impact these thoughts and your anxiety levels and stuff like that. Do you feel less stressed or less anxious? Not when you're in the gym, but after you're in the gym. I know you were saying when you were in the gym there and you were squatting and you could be thinking about your dinner or you'd be thinking about the squat and it helps you feel less anxious. But see, after the gym, once you've trained, you've done your workout, when you get home, do you feel like you go right back to feeling like that again? Or have you went right back to feeling like that again? Or have you maybe not even realised because you've been feeling a wee bit better?
well, let's put it this way. Sunday was at its worst. Monday was better. Tuesday, far, far better, but I moved and trained on Tuesday, and
Hmm.
Wednesday and those days have been far better. So the answer probably is as a byproduct of that, yes, 100%. With that said, and again, I would be very much sitting there going, if you're feeling like that, move more, do more things that give you purpose. Like that, me 2 weeks ago, that's kind of the type of things I would say. And ultimately, anybody I've ever worked with, it tends to help. Um, it has helped, but it's still there, just not as prominent. Like if that makes sense, the background character
Aye,
more than anything else.
I 100% makes sense. Did you find it hard to go to the gym? Did you find that a struggle? Were you talking yourself out of it, or is it like because you're really kind of dialed in with your training, like 99% of the time? Did you find it no bother to get to the gym?
To be honest, since being the level of tired I've been in the last wee while, I've always found it tough to get to the gym. Like I'll be honest, I've felt no real want or drive to go to the gym. Full stop. Can I put that on my story the other week? I was like, it's a slippery slope though for me. Is like if I miss a session, that can be okay, but then that's the start of me cracking open. Right, well, I've missed a Monday. Well, I then miss tomorrow's session. If I miss tomorrow's session, busy Wednesday, so that then becomes as Thursday, it's the end of the week. May as well just write off the week because I'm not going to get done
Mhm.
to do it. If you wrote off that week and then you feel worse for it, and then you start again on the following Monday, and then that's a missed session, that's a really slippery slope for me. So it's one of those ones that like I will always go and do it, but it has felt probably I wouldn't say the gym as much as felt exceptionally hard, but what is a weird feeling at the moment is like things at times feel like because I'm overthinking things and you feel this sense of probably danger. I'm feeling at times that it's a weird one. I can understand when you're talking about like Rachel's experience, or I understand it now. It's like it does feel at times like out of nowhere the walls just close in a wee bit, and you're like,
Oh, aye, 100%.
I'm like, oh, I can't really be here right now. But then it takes me a wee second to go, mate, what are you fucking like? The hardest thing right now that you need to do is shoulder press 30 kilos. Like, fucking just get a grip of yourself and do it. That's my inner monologue of telling myself that.
Yeah.
And to be fair, it works, but at the same time, there is that wee moment where your heart just goes, and I'm like, oh fuck, where am I? I think that's between the tiredness though and the anxiety, just both
Yeah.
mixed in together. Like Jen's like, you're just tired and anxious, and you just need to fucking get through this.
Aye.
But yeah,
And there's also high levels of stress thrown in it as well. So it's like a horrible concoction of all these feelings and emotions, and it's just fucking punched you right in the chest.
both done.
It's just
Yeah,
Mike Tyson's you right in the chest.
yeah.
But obviously now that you've kind of recognised it and you're starting to kind of speak about it, get things off your chest a wee bit, lift that weight off your shoulders. Fingers crossed, it starts to get better now that you're recognizing it, realizing it, and you can start dealing with it a wee bit better. Getting yourself to the gym because it fucking helps. It 100% helps, and there's been studies to prove that it helps with anxiety. It helps, de-stress. It doesn't reverse your anxiety or reverse your kind of mental health issues, but it definitely does help with how you're feeling, and how productive and stuff you are as well. Because I don't know if you're the same as me, but see when I'm feeling a wee bit anxious or overwhelmed, my productivity goes way down, and I know it's bad, and I try my hardest to get out of that kind of that routine and that habit. But when I am overwhelmed, I literally just want to take myself to bed. Kind of what you done the other day. Like you just want to sit in a dark room, do nothing, speak to no one, don't even look at your phone, don't even have the TV on. And I know it's not good because I end up fucking 4 hours more behind than what I already was. Do you know what I mean?
Well, do you know what? That's a really good point, because I done exactly that on Wednesday. Was it Wednesday just past? I think it was coming back. I felt better on Wednesday, but like still going through moments of it. But there was a point where I was sitting and I was like, I need to get myself out of the house. I will go to a cafe. But that thing happened and I was in the cafe. I'm like, oh fuck, I'm feeling like I shouldn't be here. But I had a setup to do for Sunday, and it usually takes me max an hour to do a setup. I got to the point where I was like, I lost track of all sorts of time, and everything was just feeling like I was losing my thought process. I was like, I couldn't put things into words. I was like, the simple things I would normally do. I'm like, it took me 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Like literally 2.2 times the length of time it normally takes to do that simple thing. But then, as you said, I had other shit to do that day, and I'm like, this is now. I want to do nothing less than this right now, but it's took me 2.5 hours really to do what should have been an hour's work. I'm like, again, I don't work in the type of job where I can like just see it out till 5 o'clock and I get the respite at home. And like, if I don't do my work at this point in the day, it's getting done at some point today because there's expectations and people waiting for things, and I need to get back to people and stuff, which is then what causes you going, oh fuck. But
Yeah.
again, me 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, would have just been like, Kyle, get that shit done, get that shit done, get that shit done, focus on that shit, done, 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 sorted. And like, I'd have been, right, cool, we'll watch an episode of something on TV, go to bed, sorted. Like, that's not the thought process right now, which is weird.
Aye. Are you more prepared for it this week, would you say? Like if it kind of comes again on Sunday, because obviously I know Monday, Tuesday are probably your busiest days in terms of shit you need to get done. So if, for example, you're sitting on Sunday or today, because this episode is released today,
Yeah.
and you start to get that kind of overwhelming feeling and anxiety feeling, would you think you're more prepared for it because you've experienced it last week, or is it one of those ones where if it happens, it happens, but you just, I don't know, how do you manage it?
I think I say this about other things. I don't understand, like, again, a menstrual cycle when it comes to females. So there's no
Mhm.
as much I've now experienced something I've not experienced before, and I've got a deeper understanding of it when it comes to things like menstrual cycles. Believe it or not, I've never had one. But I always like when it comes to certain things around that, I'm like, look, there's nothing we can do to fix or stop what's going to happen and your body's response to it. But I think a lot of the time, actually knowing how your body responds to it can help, and knowing what to prepare for. And I think, look, to answer your question, I'll hold my hands up and go, I don't actually know, because I think that feeling that I had wasn't just a a mind feeling. Like I think when you can deal with just the mind itself, 100%, no issue. But I think when you get I think it's called somatic anxiety. I studied it at uni, was when you start to get the effects of like the trembling, the heart rate going, the like uneasiness in the stomach, when you start to get the physical symptoms alongside the mental symptoms, it makes it a lot harder to deal with. It's a bit like why people can't really plan for things when they're hungover, because the state in which the body, as much as your mind might know, like your body's in a state where it's actually struggling and craving things. Whereas I think what I felt when that was at its worst on Sunday, I've not had the somatic effects as much right now, but the mind's still there a little bit. It's the if the churning feeling starts and if the mind starts going, the heart rate starts racing, am I more prepared for it? Yes. My coping mechanism's better. Hope so.
Aye.
This is where it comes down to if that would happen on a regular basis, and that's probably where I do need to chat to somebody. At the moment, I'm hoping what I've done, learned, and all that. It's took me, being completely honest, it's completely blindsided me in the sense that I have had no indication it was going to happen. Probably just ignored them, to be honest. That's
Aye,
it on my
aye.
part. But it's just I can only explain what happened on Sunday as a when people talk about panic attacks, like I probably had as close to what that is. Maybe I'm underplaying it. Maybe that's what it was that I had and struggled for about 8 hours. And then, sure, it's been not any of them since, but I'm still probably questioning. That's my problem. I can't just go, oh, I wasn't feeling great on Sunday. I'll not understand the reasons why. I think probably part of the reason I'm struggling with it is because I'm like, why did that happen on Sunday? What if that happens again? How do I deal with that? That didn't come out of nowhere. Like, and it's my issue of trying to find the reasons behind it that is probably helpful, but not helpful in terms of me ruminating on it a wee bit.
That's the problem solver in you. Wanting
Yeah.
to understand and wanting to kind of get to the bottom of it and want to know how things work and the kind of the biomechanics of certain things. It's just like you've got that drilled into you. You are a problem solver. You want to figure things out. You want to understand things. So yeah, it could be a kind of disadvantage in this case because then it's got you worrying. You're looking into things. Google's telling you you're going to die, and it just starts to become that horrible continuous thought in your head.
Do you know what? That's a dangerous place to be, is Google. And I
Oh,
think
fucking hell.
for anything, because naturally I Googled it.
Of course you did.
Uh, and as much as I don't think I hope I'm not going to die, or any of my symptoms are going to cause me to be locked up in a mental bin. But when you start to Google it, it's like, well, actually, what I did see is there are a lot more people who deal with this on a regular basis, and I'm like, fuck, that's obviously like to deal with that long term. That's tough. Like, and there's
Yeah.
not. But what I do say on that, I say this to everybody, is what I can see is there seems to be solutions to it. There seems to be quite a lot of solutions to it, and like, whilst I think you're going to struggle to find the solution to it just solely on the internet, because the time you think you find the solution, you'll have an article or somebody else that counters it. What I can see is there's lots of people who've made good recoveries from it as well. So yeah,
Excellent. See, it's all sunshines and rainbows. We're all good.
it's sunshine. Yeah, yeah.
Right, personal question. How do you feel after you just spoke about that there?
Good, mate. It's like, again, I've got no issue with talking about how I feel. I think, again, it's important to like lead from the front. How am I meant to expect somebody to open up and speak to me about how
Mm,
if I can't do the same? I'll be honest though, I think people's perceptions of things sometimes are a wee bit like, as you said, like when you don't experience it yourself, it's just like feel better. Like
aye, for sure.
tell somebody who's sad to be happy. Tell somebody to happy to be sad. It's like you can't see your face in boiling waters. The expression, but it's like I put something up about 5 or 6 years ago about mental health day, and I literally just talked about like at a point in my life not being in the best place, and it was like, again, it was a short period of time, but as much as it's perceived really well by a lot of people, a few people kind of it didn't overly go down well, in the sense that like I don't even know how to explain it, but it's almost like you get labelled as you've got mental health problems, like you're I don't want to say, what's the word I'm trying to use? I don't want to put the paint this the wrong way, but it was almost like you're not your normal self, you're not normal, you're not usual, you're not like you're less of, I don't want to say human being, but I kind of did get that impression. I don't just think that's the way I've perceived it, because I did actually go back and look at it a couple of years ago, and I was like, yeah, I think the way that's the comments I got from it and the messages I got, whilst they were all mostly positive, sometimes not great. And I do think like nobody is equipped to deal with mental health, and that's partly the problem. Like Jen's been to speak to people and came out and feeling worse sometimes.
Yeah.
Which maybe is part of the healing process. I don't know, but I always like I'm always open and honest. I'll always talk about the things that I'm doing to try and help, and I will always try and find a solution. I'll do whatever it takes to find a solution. I'd say that's probably about it at the moment, mate. Yeah, happy enough.
Amazing. Well, thank you very much for, opening up, being transparent, sharing that ways. I think a lot of people listening definitely 100% be able to relate to how you're feeling and what you're experiencing. I know some of the listeners that I know personally, they've experienced, times of crippling anxiety to the point where it has, kept them in bed, worrying about mad things that, like you said, hasn't happened or probably won't. Like the chances of it happening are slim to none, essentially. But yeah, it's definitely tough to manage and tough to, like from our point of view, tough to help kind of guide people through if we don't experience it ourselves. So I think you've just made yourself even more relatable than you already were to people, especially our listeners. So as classmate, I hope you feel better for kind of getting a wee bit off your chest, and kind of help taking that weight off your shoulders a wee bit. And I'm glad that it's you're feeling a lot better than you were last week as well, because it's horrible. It's a horrible thing to experience, a horrible thing to go through. I would probably say that I've not experienced it to the level that you have in the past week. Excuse me. So I'm not speaking through experience. I'm just speaking through what I've experienced, and it's not nice. So I can't even imagine how you were feeling in the last week. So, yeah, hopefully it's in the rear view. It's in the rear view mirror. And that's it.
We'll reassess it next week on the podcast, mate. We'll see where
Brilliant. Brilliant. My God, my light is on today, isn't it? Holy shit.
You're looking very bright for a,
Oh.
I was going to say it's a Friday morning, but for people listening, a Sunday afternoon or watching also.
Once we're finished recording this, I'm just going to be walking about seeing a wee orange light, not an orange light, a square light in my line of vision everywhere I look.
You're moving in dates tomorrow, isn't it?
Yes, or yesterday for the release of the podcast.
Oh, sorry, I forget.
Aye. Saturday, big moving day on Saturday. Today though we're packing. Well, we started packing yesterday once we got home from the wedding. And then we're going over to finish packing, or we're finishing packing today and then going over to finish the painting and doing all the carry on, like hoovering and tidying the bathroom and stuff, because we don't want to move in to a bit of a mess. It still is a bit of a bomb site just now, and we don't want anything lying about for Bear moving in. He's still not been yet, so this is going to be new to him.
I say you talk about carpets. I think you asked if we got carpets laid down. Upstairs we got carpets laid down about a week and a half before we had Rocky, Mo, Fizz. It was a great idea at the time, but then when you've got animals who aren't used to, or very young animals who you're trying to toilet train, like having a carpet definitely is not the one. Yeah, good luck with that, mate.
We jobby stains. Well, Bear's toilet trains were all right.
Yeah, fair enough. There wasn't just wee jobby stains. Jockey was like genuinely dying when we first got him, so we were drip feeding him with a syringe, getting up every 2 hours, 3 hours to feed him. So with that, he was having, at one point we counted, there was 21 different bouts of diarrhea that we end up having to put cardboard down on the floor just to make sure that he wasn't pooing on the carpet. So
oh, that's a shame.
yeah, no, I was gonna say fun times, man. Like that's the thing. That didn't cause me anxiety. That didn't cause me anxiety.
It's me, Rachel. I'm worried about shitting the carpet, to be fair.
I was gonna say you might have anxiety next week. We'll speak.
It's good. I'm excited. It is the Daisy. I think I mentioned this before, but the Daisy moving house is one of the top three most stressful experiences you can have.
Yeah,
Um,
changing
and
jobs, moving house, and was it a divorce
I
or
have
something?
is it not having a baby?
Fuck. Well, I was gonna say I'm surprised I didn't put that down because having a baby is fucking knocked me for six. So yeah, Jane was
It
another
could.
two.
What was that?
Jane was another two, and I'm like, I don't think I can cope with one at the moment. I don't like having another two.
Jesus. It could be having a divorce, it could be having a baby. Anyway, we definitely know moving house is one of them, and fuck me, they were not wrong. I was like, it's fine. We just throw things into a van and move it all over in one day. But yeah, we bought the house 3 months ago, so we've had the keys for 3 months,
Yeah.
and this is us finally moving in after all the carry on we've had to go through. It's just been absolutely mental. Plus trying to juggle two jobs, trying to, look after Bear who needs fucking pampered every single day. He's so spoiled. But yeah, it's been good, but the end is in sight. Well, I say that, but we move in and it's going to be one thing after another, isn't it?
The end's never in sight, mate. Like you're going to have this ongoing project for the next rest of your life.
Oh, jeez.
That's
There's
the
me thinking I was trying to feel better about the situation and you've just fucking brought me right back down.
Don't feel better about it, mate. You're right though. Like when we got the house, we it was 2020, I think we got ours. We got it in October 2020. We didn't move until March. So again, it's like the original plan was we'll move in for Christmas, and then realizing going into a renovated house with single glazing windows and no heating in December probably wasn't
Oh,
a good
aye.
shout. So we waited till March, albeit in March you could still see. I remember the first day of moving in, we woke up no bed frame or anything in the house yet, mattress on the floor. You could breathe and you could see your breath in the house. It was actually warmer outside, I think. So
Aye. Aye.
it's one of those ones that I think we absolutely broke ourselves, like both financially and physically, getting the house to a livable position. That we actually took our foot off the gas and relaxed a wee bit. But I'm not going to lie, still recovering a wee bit from that all-out effort of
Yeah.
there was a good year where we just absolutely, and we done most of it self, cangled out the floor, piping in, heating in, like tiled a bathroom, mate. Like my CV's fucking talk about a time you worked under a stressful situation, mate. Mine's is like I had Jen 2 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday night fucking giving out to me about how the lines on my tiling wasn't quite exactly where they should be. And I was like, she'd done a part of it. I was like, well, your fucking lines are shite too.
Fuck that. I am not tiling a bathroom. No way.
You say that now, mate. We'll wait and see what happens when you get in and you've got like I'd say your issue is going to be when you're in there, not having because we were renting a place at the same time, and when we were renting the place, it was fine because you could just go. There was a consolidated bit of work and leave. See, when you live in a house that you know needs work done to it, you can't sit where you are and look at something and relax. Well,
Yeah.
I can, Jen can. So you'll be sitting there, and I'm sure Rachel will do the same. Where it'll be like you're sitting in your living room and you think everything's okay, let's just watch TV, and all of a sudden it's nah, we should do something about that, or we need
Aye.
to. The worst thing is when nothing ever happens and we're still talking about it a year later, and I'm like, well, Jen, we've not done anything for a year. We're not doing anything about it tonight. Can we just fucking watch the I'm trying
Aye.
my best to switch on to this TV program, which is hard enough for me as it is. Never mind bringing up the fact that we've not got skirting boards yet.
Fuck, we've not get skirting. You've just reminded me that we need to go skirting shopping.
Uh, Yeah, mate. Well, we've been doing a bit of years since the point where we should have had skirting boards, and we've not got skirting boards. You'll live. You'll be all right.
Excellent. Excellent. We also have a big hole in the living room floor where the boiler pipes go down. We got a joiner coming in to fix it. He's been coming back and forward. But yeah, we're going to need to live with this big hole in the living room floor. I might just pack it with like insulation just now, but I'm scared in case Bear eats it because he eats fucking everything.
I mean, if Rachel's giving you a bit of a hard time, we could probably bury her in it for a wee bit.
Excellent. Aye, that would work. That would work. But anyway, mate, listen, we should wrap this one up there. Thank you very much again for sharing that. Really appreciate it, and I'm sure a few of our listeners will appreciate it as well. By the way, just before I go, Dave messaged me I've no messaged him back yet, but he suggested, why don't we have episode 40 as the big release for the theme tune?
What are we on now? 36?
This is 36, so 5 weeks.
Fuck. That will solve my anxiety, but I don't know if I can hold on another 5 weeks for it. But no, that's fine, Dave. Episode 40 is a big release. Let's do it.
Episode 40 is a big one. Stay tuned until then to hear the new theme tune. But in the meantime, though, where can people find you, Kyle?
Kyle_biofitness1 on Instagram.
Excellent, excellent. At GMAC_health and fitness. As always, if you've got any questions about the podcast, or if you want to just kind of reach out for a wee talk about anything, yeah, click one of the links in the description in the show notes, or the description on YouTube. And I hope you all have an amazing week and see you next week.
See you next week. Bye bye.